Hey guys, Aaron CybertronVGC here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online Regulation G VGC ladder in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and provide live commentary as I go. In this video, I'm going to be featuring a really fun hard Trick Room team that finished in the top 16 of the North American International Championships, one of the largest VGC tournaments of all time. This team features Electabuzz, which is a very uncommon Pokemon. Electabuzz is unique because it gets access to Vital Spirit, allowing you to redirect spores away from Amoonguses, which normally can cause Trick Room teams some issue. Electabuzz also gets access to support moves like Taunt and Feint. Feint in particular is really valuable because one of the ways that people generally beat Trick Room is to stall it out by using Protect. But Feint can just bypass that Protect and allow your Pokemon to get knockouts when your opponent think they can Protect safely. It also breaks Wide Guard, which is really valuable since this team uses Calyrex Ice Rider, as well as Ursaluna Blood Moon as two main means of offense. This team also has a ton of other fun support, including Smeargle, which gets access to moves like Fake Out, Sport, and Decorate, as well as Annihilate, which gets access to Choice Scarf, Final Gambit, which is nasty, as well as coaching. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battle, check out the timestamps down below, and thanks so much as always for joining me. If you enjoyed, would really appreciate it if you consider leaving a like on the video or subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a ton. Anyway, let's dive into things. As always, if you're interested in trying out the team, the rental code is on the screen, and there is also a paste down in the description below. Like I mentioned, this team is a hard Trick Room team that generally revolves around enabling Calyrex Ice Rider and Ursaluna Blood Moon to deal massive amounts of damage. You've also got Farigiraf as another means of setting up Trick Room, and you have really unique support in Choice Scarf, Annihilate, Smeargle with Focus Sash with Fake Out, as well as Follow Me, Spore Decorate, and Electabuzz. All three of these can provide really valuable support. Smeargle is generally helpful in setting up Trick Room early on. Annihilate is useful in destroying something in the early game while also being able to potentially boost Calyrex's attack and defense through coaching. And Electabuzz provides redirection support, giving you immunity to sleep, as well as support moves like Feint and Taunt. The goal ideally is to just win the game while Trick Room is set up and overwhelm your opponent with offense, but you've got a lot of bulk on this team as well, so it's not uncommon for you to set up two Trick Rooms if you're able to manage your resources properly. Just to provide some quick context, this team finished in the top 16 and top 64 of the North American International Championships, one of the largest VGC tournaments of all time, with over 900 players competing in the Masters division. Alex Underhill finished in 12th place with this team. Alex is a regional champion from this season and is a 3-time regional champion overall, and Audie, his team building partner, finished in the top 64 here, ending up in 60th place, also advancing to day 2. Only 5 players total brought Electabuzz to this tournament, and so for it to have finished so strong in a field of over 900 players, despite so few players using it, and seeing less than 1% usage rate is really fun, I think, in particular. Before diving into the specifics, I wanted to just quickly call out a couple of things. First of all, the idea of Electabuzz being used on hard Trick Room was a concept that came from a player called Foiled Feline, who brought it to the LA Regional Championships in May of 2024. I've linked the open team sheet for their team down in the description below, but it features some other tools such as Torkoal as well as Choice Band Urshifu. This, of course, is a newer version of a similar concept built by Alex and Audie, and so if you want to watch a really in-depth team report by them, I've linked it down in the description below. It tells you everything you need to know about the team, such as how it came together, what the EV spreads do, how to play with the team, how their tournament runs at NAIC went, and all that good stuff. So check out the video down below. Now, I was obviously drawn to this team because of Electabuzz in particular. Magmar was the other Follow Me user back in Pokemon XD, and so both Magmar and Electabuzz with Follow Me have actually been around for a while, and some players like Sejun as well as Wolf actually brought Magmar with Follow Me to Worlds in 2013, but Electabuzz has never really seen that much love until now. So why now? Well, first of all, Electabuzz has Vital Spirit. This is such a valuable ability because it prevents it from falling asleep, which makes Electabuzz really valuable into Amoonguss in particular. Amoonguss is generally seen as one of the go-to Pokemon to shut down opposing Trick Room teams, and this team really relies on Trick Room. The reason why Amoonguss is so valuable, obviously, is because it's so slow, base 30 speed, so you can outspeed Farigiraf, Ursaluna, and Calyrex under Trick Room. And so, normally people would get around that by using Grass Terra on Calyrex, but the problem with Grass Terra is you're still weak to Fire, and Fire is a fairly common offensive typing from things like Chi-Yu, as well as Koraidon, for example. So, Electabuzz is really nice because with Vital Spirit, you can really shut down opposing Amoongusses. You also have Taunt, which is even worse for Amoonguss to go up against, and Taunt is also so valuable into all the different support-oriented Pokemon that exist in the format. Electabuzz, however, also has this incredible move in Feint. Feint is incredible because it bypasses Detect, Protect, and Quick Guard and Wide Guard. Quick Guard not really used, but Wide Guard and Protect, two of the most common moves that people use to stall out Trick Room when going up against a team like this. You have a ton of spread moves, right? You've got the Hyper Voice on Ursaluna as well as Glacial Lance from Calyrex Ice Rider, and so these moves are so important in just knocking out your opponent's Pokemon really quickly. Now, normally when people go up against a Trick Room team like this, they're going to try to protect, make a switch, make another protect, and then switch again, and then they can stall out Trick Room. But with Feint, it's so much more difficult to stall out Trick Room. So the idea is if you position Electabuzz in, as soon as you set up Trick Room, you can just go Feint and start dealing massive amounts of damage and get quick knockouts before your opponent can really stall out Trick Room in a short amount of time. So Electabuzz just provides so much unique support here. 1, to shut down opposing Amoonguses, 2, Taunt just to shut down general support options, and 3, Feint to really bypass those protects and those wide guards. Volt Switch also allows you to get some nice pivoting in with this Pokemon, and of course it can deal decent damage actually into Pokemon that are water types such as Urshifu or Pelipper. The other support options on this team are Choice Scarf, Annihilate. This is max speed, Jolly, and so the idea here is that you want to just Final Gambit something and knock it out before they can move, or you can go for coaching in order to boost your Pokemon's attack and defense. This is primarily going to be used when you lead it with Calyrex. This allows you to pressure something like Final Gambit into Trick Room, or you can go for something like coaching plus Glacial Lance immediately, because a lot of times people actually try to protect in front of Annihilate, and so you can sometimes get a free coaching boost onto the Calyrex Ice Rider. The third support option is Smeargle here, and the idea behind Smeargle is to really be a huge nuisance with Fake Out, Follow Me, Decorate, and Spore. Fake Out means that you can lead Smeargle, Calyrex, and pressure Fake Out Trick Room immediately. Sometimes opponents will try to play passively around Smeargle, allowing you to go for something like Spore or Decorate. Smeargle is really difficult to deal with because of this Focus Sash as well, and so if you want to deal with Smeargle and Calyrex, it's like, how do you stop Trick Room from being set up while also stopping Decorate, while also stopping Spore? It's really, really hard. So you can often just go for something like the plays that I mentioned earlier, or something like Follow Me into Trick Room, sacrifice Smeargle, bring in Ursaluna, and just have two of your strongest attackers out next to each other. By the way, the Smeargle here, as you can see, is slower than Calyrex Ice Rider, so when Trick Room is set up, Smeargle can decorate the Calyrex immediately, giving you a boost, and then Calyrex can just deal increased damage right away, making this a really nasty lead. Farigiraf is your other option on this team to set up Trick Room. Super bulky. You've got Mental Orb here just because Taunt can be fairly annoying, and some people like to run Taunt on things like Incineroar, for example. So just having another way to set up Trick Room is valuable. You've got Ground Terror with Terra Blast, which is particularly valuable into Miraidon. Psychic Noise is a nice move, which prevents the target from healing for a little bit, and then Helping Hand just allows you to further increase your damage output. Don't expect Farigiraf itself to be doing a ton of damage, but you want to mainly use it for support to enable the rest of the team. We finally go down to the strongest options on this team, which are Calyrex Ice Rider and Ursaluna. Both of these are fairly straightforward, but I do want to call out a couple of things because this Calyrex is not max HP. You take a little bit of HP investment out, and it's actually not Brave either. It's Admin Nature with 36 speed EVs. This allows you to speed creep a lot of the other Calyrexes that exist in the format, and that's really nice because it gives you an out where you don't always have to rely on Trick Room just to win games, right? When you're going up against opposing Calyrex teams, you can often actually overwhelm them just by being faster with the Calyrex and the Ursaluna. And so this allows also, for example, Annihilate to just go for something like coaching into Calyrex Glacial Lances. It means that you don't have to set up Trick Room because you often will be faster against opposing Calyrex Ice Rider. So that's one thing that's really valuable in particular. Also note the speed stats here because the Ursaluna has 12 speed EVs here, so it allows you to hit 74. That means Calyrex will move right before the Ursaluna when Trick Room is not set up, and when Trick Room is set up, Ursaluna, of course, will move before Calyrex. But the little bit of speed investment on both of these allows you to really out-creep opposing Calyrexes and opposing Ursalunas, and that's really, really nice. Of course, the main goal is to try to set both of these up for success under Trick Room. The other thing to call out here with Calyrex is that you're actually running close combat rather than something like high horsepower. Close combat is really nice, in particular against normal type Pokemon, and when I say that, I specifically am referring to Terapagos. Terapagos in general can be pretty annoying to deal with, but with this team you have a lot of answers. Of course, you can Final Gambit. You can also go for something like Feint to break the shell, and then close combat it with Calyrex, which is really nice. And so close combat is, of course, still going to be able to deal super effective damage into opposing Incineroars as well. So you can either run this or high horsepower, but I think on this team it makes a lot of sense, and it definitely improves your matchup into certain Pokemon, like Terapagos, for example. In terms of ways to play with the team, you generally want to find a way to set up Trick Room, right? And so common leads, I think, are Annihilate with one of the Trick Room users, Calyrex or Farigiraf. You can Final Gambit into Trick Room. You can also lead Smeargle with either of these, Fake Out into Trick Room. I like leading Calyrex so frequently with this team because it just is so well protected by the support options. So Smeargle Calyrex, Annihilate Calyrex, Electabuzz Calyrex. I think Electabuzz normally makes sense if your opponent has, for example, Amoonguss on their team, if they have ways to stop Trick Room. If they have their own Trick Room, you can taunt, for example. You can Volt Switch out while also putting on pressure against Amoonguss and making it harder for them to click Spore. So yeah, I generally say I would lead a combination of something like Smeargle, Annihilate, Electabuzz with one of Farigiraf or Calyrex. But if you wanted to go like super offensive and just deal damage immediately because you don't feel the need to set up Trick Room right away, something like Electabuzz, Ursaluna can just go for Follow Me into doing a lot of damage, or Smeargle, Ursaluna could work as well. But I generally look to at least have the option of setting up Trick Room. And with that, you'll want to lead at least one of Calyrex or Farigiraf. So in terms of things to watch out for, I think the first thing that I want to call out when you're using this team is that you have to be careful about going up against teams that have Pokemon that are both faster and slower than your main options. Normally what you want to do with this team is just set up Trick Room and sweep, but Calyrex and Ursaluna, while slow, still can't be outsped by other things under Trick Room, especially because you're not running min speed on either of these, right? And so it can be really awkward when your opponent has a team where some of their Pokemon are faster and threatening Calyrex and Ursaluna, and some of their Pokemon are slower and also threatening Calyrex and Ursaluna. So that's one thing to watch out for in particular, because then the game is not nearly as straightforward to play. You don't just get to click Trick Room and then sweep right away. One other thing to call out is that you don't have Protect on Smeargle, Farigiraf, Annihilate, or Electabuzz, and so a good turn against any of these, especially when they're led, can be really, really strong. One thing to consider, for example, when I've gotten Annihilate plus Calyrex's lead, is that my opponent protects as I Final Gambit into something. Calyrex sets up Trick Room, but then suddenly I'm stuck on the field with Choice Scarf Annihilate, and it's really awkward because Trick Room is set up, and that often forces me to make a switch on the subsequent turn. So that's one thing to think about when you're going up against this team. Can you have a strong turn 1 into the support options? Electabuzz, by the way, also a Pokemon that you potentially can take advantage of. Just knowing that it has Vital Spirit, as well as the fact that it has Feint and Taunt, can be a really big deal. I've had opponents who are really smart, and essentially, like, if you're able to predict a Protect, Feint, and do a lot of damage, that often can just win you the game with this team. So I've had opponents who make really risky plays and essentially don't protect when they normally should because they respect the Feint option, and that can give them a big advantage because then they're able to just deal a lot of damage, if not even threaten with a knockout. One also thing to consider when you're going up against Calyrex and Ursaluna is, like, can you do a lot of damage to Calyrex before it's able to really get a lot of damage, right? Like, the turn that it Trick Rooms, are you able to burst it down for a lot of damage so that it can only get one more attack off in subsequent turns? That's one thing to think about. Obviously, this team has a lot of redirection with Follow Me on Smeargle and Electabuzz, so spread moves can be really valuable to ignore those redirection options as well. So those are just a couple of things to consider. And of course, ideally with this team, when you're going up against it, you want to just stall out Trick Room. It's not as easy to do that because of the threat of Electabuzz, but that's still something you'll want to consider, especially if Electabuzz is not out of the field. All right, we've got Miraidon here with Chi-Yu, Raging Bolt, Tornadus, Brute Bonnet, and Flutter Mane. This is really offensive and fast-paced. I think Electabuzz can actually be really valuable to stop Bonnet from sporing. The question is what I want to lead with. I generally like Smeargle, Calyrex with Electabuzz and Blood Moon here. This gives me Fake Out pressure, Fake Out into Trick Room, Protect Spore, Follow Me. Yeah. I think my opponent has very little to stop Trick Room, or I should say they have few things to like defend against Trick Room once it's set up. So if I can get Trick Room up, I should be in really good shape. If I'm my opponent, what am I considering leading? Brute Bonnet plus something? If they lead Bonnet, though, I can just Fake Out Bonnet. I think the main thing I'm worried about here is the potential Ghost Terra Brute Bonnet. That's the one thing that I think could stop me right now. If it's Flutter Chi-Yu, we just go for Follow Me, Fire Terra, Trick Room. Miraidon Chi-Yu. I think the same is fine. Yeah, in general, I think Follow Me plus Trick Room is really effective here with Fire Terra. But obviously, my opponent is using a team in which, like, so many things capitalize off the sun. So it's nice to be able to get Photosynthesis outside of just booster energy. Let's see what they lead with. Yeah, I think Ghost Terra Brute Bonnet is my one fear right now. Taunt Tornadus also could be a little bit spooky. Bonnet Miraidon, okay. Well, if you're Ghost Terra, you're Ghost Terra. That's how I'm thinking about this right now. Actually, why don't I just Follow Me here? Follow Me Trick Room seems really safe. Because Bonnet's going to be slower than Koraidon. You'll bring me down to Sash. Yeah, I think this is fine. I'd say the only downside is that, like, if they click attack plus Spore, Smeargle's caught in a weird spot. Maybe it was actually worth thinking about just clicking Glacial Lance on turn 1 here. I might end up baiting a Terra, though, from one of these two. My dream scenario would be that they actually knock out Smeargle so that I get a free switch in. So we do bait out a Terra to start. I'd expect Fire Terra Koraidon here. But it's actually going to be on Bonnet, okay. Into Poison. Poison is fine. It means I can Earth Power you for super effective damage now. Oh, they go for Protect, okay. And then just Spore now, I would guess. Taunt. Okay. That's definitely scary, but I get Trick Room up, so it's not the end of the world. I mean, all things considered, that's not bad at all. I want to bring in Electabuzz now. I also could have considered Grass Terra there, by the way, if I was worried about Spore specifically. I think the play now is to bring out Electabuzz and to protect with Calyrex. Because then I can pressure with Follow Me, Glacial Lance. Part of me thought about just attacking this turn, though. And just eating up the Spore. The downside with the play that I'm making right now is I'm burning a turn in my own Trick Room, but I generally don't mind that too much because I know I have Faint Pressure with Smeargle. Or sorry, Faint Pressure with Electabuzz. Okay, Buzz comes out. Calyrex protects. Yeah, perfect. They Spore. Great. And Collision Course. Should survive that. Yeah. Now that's interesting. First question I have is, how much does my opponent even know about Electabuzz? Second question I have, how fast is their Bonnet? It should be slower than us. So faster under Trick Room. If I were them, I would actually try to KO Electabuzz right now. And you shouldn't Spore because I have Electabuzz out on the field. So what I want to do is just Feint and Glacial Lance right now. I'm hinging off my opponent knowing what Electabuzz does, though. Because they might not know what Vital Spirit does. So there's Protect, which is good. Feint breaks the Protect. Bang. Nice. Okay, I'm faster than Bonnet, which is also good to confirm. I mean, that shouldn't be shocking, but we get the knockout here. Perfect. But Bonnet does get Dark-type attacks, right? So let's see what it goes for. Okay, they just taunt. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Which means I can just Feint Glacial Lance next turn. So yeah, in this case, I was using the fact that I would expect my opponent to know what Electabuzz does, but honestly, not everyone does. I think a lot of players there, if they've never gone up against Electabuzz and never seen it before, might just actually click Volt Switch in that position. Chi-Yu comes out. We've still got 2 turns of Trick Room, which is great. I just got an attack boost here. I think I'm okay going for Feint into... I actually don't mind Feint Chi-Yu, Terra, and Close Combat it. Just get rid of Chi-Yu. Because Bonnet's not really that scary, right? What have we seen from it so far? Just Taunt and Spore. I don't even know if it's going to carry Protect. I would think you would want to run like a Grass type attack and a Dark type attack. And Terra. Electabuzz Feints. Nice. breaks Sash and breaks a potential Protect. They Sucker Punch, but the Terra gets around this. Beautiful. Or I should say it gets around it being super effective, and we get another knockout. Perfect. Electabuzz is steamrolling right now. This is amazing. Being able to just feint through everything as Trick Room is expiring is just so huge for us. We can just pick up knockout after knockout. Beautiful. And Bolt is their last one. Perfect. The one thing I want to respect is Thunderclap plus Sucker Punch. Which might actually get the knockout. So I don't mind switching to Smeargle right now and going for Protect. I actually think a better play there instead of switching is to Protect Volt Switch. Because Electabuzz isn't really that important well, actually, I think it is still important because one of the win cons now is we just get Electabuzz back in and we just click Follow Me into Glacial Lance, right? Now with this next turn, I pressure Fake Out into Spore. Cool. Yep. They try to Spore us here, but Electabuzz just put on so much pressure here, put them in a really tricky spot. So they Spore Thunderbolt. Nice. Cool. Sunlight fades as well, so no more Photosynthesis on either Mon, which is great. Spore, Sucker Punch, Taunt on Bonnet. What is your last attack is my question. Either way, I'm happy to just Fake Out now. Might as well Trick Room again. Fake Out Trick Room and then Glacial Lance, and we should be good here. I'm really, really happy about Electabuzz's performance in this one, though. I think being able to feint 2 different Pokemon and guarantee knockouts with the Koraidon taking the close combat as well as Chi-Yu was a really big deal here. So let's Fake Out. Thunderbolt. Oh! Does manage to get the KO. Oh, so I think it's Specs then. That's good to know, but if you're Specs, it means that you can't beat the Blood Moon in the... Oh no, you're Life Orb. Wow, I actually thought it's Life Orb Thunderbolt getting the knockout. And it's Covert Cloak! Whoa. This game just got a lot more interesting. Covert Cloak, Brute Bonnet, as well as Electabuzz, or sorry, Raging Bolt actually being able to survive that. That's nuts. Alright, this game got more interesting. I'll switch an Electabuzz here and Protect. In my head, I was like, okay, the only way you're really knocking our Calyrex out is if you Draco Meteor. So if you Draco Meteor, then you're at -2, which means that you don't really put on offensive pressure. Also, definitely didn't expect Covert Cloak from the Bonnet. So that makes me think I maybe should have gone... No, I don't know. I think Fake Out and trying to Trick Room there is not the worst possible. Like, but they had a combination of Life Orb, which you don't actually see on Raging Bolt that frequently, as well. Like, the items on my opponent's team here really messed me up this turn. This can get spooky now. If they knock out Electabuzz as I switch in. Okay, Ursaluna protects. Okay, they try to Sucker. That's good. It should be a targeting... Yeah, good. Okay, with that now, I can go for Follow Me. And I'm going to Earth Power into Bonnet, because I think Bonnet might not have Protect. And I think one play you could make here, if you're my opponent, is Protect your Raging Bolt and then Taunt into Electabuzz. If I knock out Bonnet, then it's a 3v1 against the Raging Bolt. Yeah, cool. So this should win us the game, I think. Shout out to Electabuzz. Yep, and there's our last attack. It is indeed Seed Bomb, to which Electabuzz takes like a champ. Nice. We get that knockout. Perfect. Oh, Electabuzz was so good for us in this one. And now we can just go for Follow Me again and Earth Power. With you not being Assault Vested, having Protected, yeah, we should end up winning the game. So, shoutouts to Electabuzz. I feel like this was an amazing performance by it. It was able to do so much work for us in this game by being able to break feint or use feint to get 2 different knockouts for us, follow me to deter a lot of damage, and then also, of course, put on pressure against Brute Bonnet and putting it in a more difficult position where it couldn't just spore everything. So, yeah, I feel like this was a game where Electabuzz was able to just demonstrate so much. All right. I see a lot of Pokemon that I want to bring Electabuzz into because they've got an Amoonguss, that's number 1. They also have Pelipper, which we can Volt Switch. And they have Farigiraf in their own Calyrex Ice Rider, to which we can go for Taunt. So, I think Electabuzz is going to be huge for us in this game. So, Calyrex Ice Mirror. But we have Feint. Annihilate for Final Gambit here, I think, is pretty solid as well. Coaching is also interesting from Annihilate to get a defense boost. They do have Fake Out Pressure here with Rillaboom, but I don't know. I'm actually thinking Annihilate plus Calyrex, Electabuzz plus Blood Moon in the back. Smeargle's not bad either. Like, I think I could theoretically lead Smeargle instead of Annihilate, because it does pressure Fake Out. But I like Annihilate here. All right, let's try this out. I'm really, really excited for Electabuzz in this match, though. I think he can put in a lot of work, specifically because of its matchup into both Pelipper as well as Amoonguss, and that's one of the main reasons Electabuzz exists on this team. So, let's see what we got here. I think I could consider leading it as well, but I'd rather have it in the back. I'm not sure it's like super, super valuable as a lead here for me. But they go with the Amoonguss and Farigiraf, so it actually would have been decent. That being said, I'm totally fine with this outcome. I think what I can do here, honestly, is just straight up switch the Annihilate into Electabuzz turn 1, and then just go for Protect. I could also just Glacial Lance immediately, but I think if I were my opponent, I would consider just going for a Terra here. I could also Final Gambit, I guess, Glacial Lance. But I think switching in Electabuzz here and protecting is fine. We don't really lose too much from this. So the idea behind this play is Electabuzz shuts down Amoonguss because of its ability, Vital Spirit. So they'll probably want to set up Trick Room here. I'm hoping to bait out a Terra from Amoonguss as well, like a Water Terra. And then the idea... This is actually where Electabuzz would have been a solid lead, specifically into this lead combination. But I'm fine with this. Like, Annihilate put on a lot of pressure against a lot of other things that they could have wanted to go for. And we're going to bait out the Terra, as I mentioned. So, should be Amoonguss Terraing until something like Water or Fire, I would guess. Perfect. Yeah, and now I can just go for Follow Me into Glacial Lance. Or I could go for something like Protect, Taunt. A lot of different options. I'm guessing they went for Spore and Trick Room turn 1. Oh, even better, Rage Powder. Okay, cool. I'm guessing Trick Room now. Okay, great. Cool, so now we've got an Electabuzz out, and this Electabuzz has a lot of value because of Taunt as well as Rage Powder. Or sorry, Follow Me. So, I'm just going to go for Follow Me here in Glacial Lance. I'm happy to just start launching damage out. I could reverse Trick Room at any point. I could also consider... Look, we have a lot of different plays we can make right now, right? Because I can reverse Trick Room. Amoonguss actually switches out, so that's a nice play by my opponent. Maybe into their own Calyrex. Yep. Okay, that's fine. One thing to think about is ending the game with the Final Gambit as well, right? So, part of the value of Electabuzz here is kind of forcing the switch out for my opponent. They're going to get Hyper Voice off, not too much damage. They're not Throat Spray, great. We get Glacial Lance off in return. That's so much damage. We've got Blood Moon in the back. I do think it's actually probably worth it to consider reversing Trick Room right now. They'll probably just Hyper Voice, and I would guess High Horsepower into this. The main reason I think it's worth reversing Trick Room, I don't know their speeds necessarily, but we're not min speed on Calyrex or Ursaluna, which gives us an advantage outside of Trick Room. Yeah, so I don't mind going for Volt Switch here and reversing Trick Room. Oh, Swords Dance, okay. And they have Foul Play as well. So, nice turn by my opponent, but this is fine because now... And Volt Switch actually does some nice damage there as well. But more importantly, I just reverse Trick Room. And now I have this position where I can just spam my attacks, and there's really not much my opponent can do to respond to that. So now we bring out Ursaluna. And Calyrex reverses Trick Room. Okay. So now I can just Terra here, Hyper Voice, and Glacial Lance. So this is one thing that's really important to think about when you're using this team. Now, there is a chance maybe that my opponent's Calyrex actually is, like, not min speed, but this Calyrex is not only not Brave Nature, it's Admin Nature, 36 speed EVs, and the Ursaluna has 12 speed EVs and it's Modest Nature rather than something like Quiet, right? So I generally expect to be faster than my opponent in this position. And we also saw their Calyrex move first and go for Swords Dance earlier, so... I think we should be in good shape here. Amoonguss is Terra'd, but we're in a position right now where I can just Hyper Voice everything. Final Gambit is a really nice way to end the game once we've gotten some chip damage onto everything and can guarantee that everything's in Gambit range. And they're not going to protect here, so that's beautiful. Perfect. So we get the knockout onto Farigiraf. That gives us an attack boost. My opponent was smart here, right? I mean, like, you shouldn't expect people to just Spore when there's an Electabuzz on the field, but now we get normal, Terra, single target, Life Orb, Hyper Voice into the Calyrex, and that's a KO. Beautiful. And the cool thing about Electabuzz in that position with Volt Switch is even if Electabuzz had fainted, it would grant me a free switch in anyway, right? Given that they did have Foul Play on Farigiraf, I think Glacial Lance plus Foul Play actually might have gotten the knockout onto Calyrex. It's kind of close, so that could have been scary. But Electabuzz's role in this game was to basically deter Amoonguss from doing too much. And they have Pelipper plus Amoonguss in the back, and so this is perfect for Electabuzz in the late game thanks to Feint. So what do I want to do here? I mean, we have so many options. Pelipper should be the fastest mon here. They might go for Wide Guard plus Spore. So honestly, I'm down to Protect here and switch an Electabuzz. With that, I can just go for Feint plus Hyper Voice the next turn. This is exactly why I wanted to bring Electabuzz, specifically against both of my opponent's Pokemon. I probably could have just attacked this turn, honestly, like Glacial Lance, Blood Moon, but I think this is also fine. Okay, they go for Hurricane onto the Electabuzz slot, that's fine. Doesn't do too much. Does confuse us, though. Okay. And Spore. Given this... The confusion is just a little bit scary because it means, like, there's a chance that I don't get to move here, obviously. I would love to just Blood Moon into Pelipper. And Volt Switch into... or Feint into it. Okay, let's see. Does Electabuzz get the move off? It hits itself in confusion. That's fine. We're faster with Ursaluna here anyway. Okay, cool. They might be sashed here on Pelipper, but that's okay. It doesn't really make a difference here in this endgame. Oh, and they're not sashed. Okay, nice. I mainly wanted to just show off Feint to break through Protect here. So they'll probably put the Ursaluna to sleep, but it's a 4v1. Obviously, Amoonguss can't do too much in this spot. So yeah, Electabuzz could solo the Amoonguss right now just with the Volt Switch. Okay, so we'll just burn a turn of sleep here, go for Hyper Voice, and taunt into Amoonguss. Yeah, and they end up forfeiting. So I think we had a huge matchup advantage here because of Electabuzz, actually. What it did was it essentially forced my opponent to switch out that Amoonguss. I was able to get a lot of free damage off with that initial Glacial Lance, and it also, like, put my opponent in a tough spot, right? Because normally what you want to do with my opponent's team is you set up Trick Room and then you put everything to sleep. So even though Electabuzz in this case, like, didn't necessarily, you know, follow me and eat up a Spore, it forced Amoonguss out on the field, and that's exactly one of the main purposes of it on this team. Being able to make the Amoonguss basically just relatively useless, and not be able to spam Spore is a really big deal. So this was actually an interesting matchup because the team that we're using is a relatively hard Trick Room team, but we went up against a Calyrex Ice Rider team in which their Pokemon were even slower. So this is one of the unique cases where we don't actually want Trick Room set up, and I was able to basically bait out a Terra early from my opponent, which prevented any other defensive Terras or offensive Terras, and then I was able to force Amoonguss out with the Electabuzz and then get my Calyrex and my Ursaluna positioned in really, really perfectly. All right, we are up against a team that has done very, very well recently. So this team was initially created by Michael Zhang, who won the Sacramento Regional Championships. He is, in my opinion, one of, maybe if not like top 3 team builders I've seen in this entire format and season. And so he initially built this team, and then multiple other players used it to do super, super well. It won one of the special events or regional championships over in Europe. It got top 8 at the Indianapolis Regional Championships, and it's seen a lot of different variations. This version has Chandelure, which is really nice as a Zamazenta counter. So I'll be featuring this team on the channel soon as well. But yeah, it's Choice Band Rillaboom on this comp. I'm wondering if it's the exact rental team. This team won the Taiwanese National Championships recently, and on that version, it's actually Dragon Terrazama, which is really cool. And it has there is Tauntaun Moltres, which is where Mentor Farigiraf comes in handy. I think I want to go Annihilate, Calyrex, Blood Moon, Electabuzz. And I'm bringing Electabuzz in this game because it has Feint, and the Zamazenta has Wide Guard on the opposing side. So being able to Feint, for example, into a Chien-Pao Protect, or being able to Feint to break Wide Guard, I think is a pretty big deal in this matchup. So, let's see. But I think Smeargle could have been really valuable here as well as a lead. Moltres, Chandelure. Okay. Interesting. A lot of different things we can consider going for. They could just like Heat Wave Foul Play into us on turn 1. They have Taunt on Moltres. I have Shadow Claw here. Kind of intrigued by something like Coaching, Fire Terra, Glacial Lance. Because I could see them trying to either reverse Trick Room or just trying to taunt Heat Wave turn 1. I'm down for the Coaching option here. Coaching, Terra, Lance. I don't want a Trick Room here because they could reverse Trick Room with Chandelure and they have Taunt on Moltres. So it's 2 things that are kind of annoying for us to deal with. The only thing this really, I think, loses to is something like Shadow Ball Foul Play onto Calyrex. Which actually wouldn't be a bad play here. I'm curious what they opt for. Okay, nice. Moltres protects. If Chandelure goes for Trick Room here, expecting me to reverse, or expecting me to set up Trick Room, this would be super, super ideal. It would put them in such a tough spot, actually, because then I just get to spam Glacial Lance and Snowball with it. But they just Heat Wave. That's also fine. I'm happy with this. The main thing, though, is I have to watch out for Foul Play, obviously, coming out from Moltres this next turn. Look how much damage that does. So, if I were them, I think I would probably go for Foul Play and maybe another Heat Wave. So what I want to do here is switch into Electabuzz right now and go for Protect. And then I can go for either Follow Me Glacial Lance or Follow Me Trick Room. I was surprised at turn 1 they really just didn't respect the option of me going for Trick Room. But maybe they thought because I have Annihilate Bout, I don't necessarily want to click Trick Room, which I think would be a fair assumption. They're going to go for Terra here. I would guess it's Dark Terra Moltres to get a stronger Foul Play. Yep. Okay. That's fine. I may have liked actually sacrificing Annihilate more, because... well, I'll see how much damage Electabuzz takes. Oh, they actually go for Fiery Wrath. Okay. Fiery Wrath Heat Wave, I guess. How much does that do to us? Oh, that's not much at all. Okay, nice. And they Shadow Ball. Perfect. Yeah, so now I can just go for Follow Me and Trick Room. I think the main question here is, do I follow me? Sorry, I definitely follow me here. Although they could go for Fiery Wrath and Heat Wave, but I'd be okay with that. I just really don't want to take a foul play. Like, we want to just play it safe this turn, I think. The question is whether or not I Trick Room or Glacial Lance, because they didn't try to reverse Trick Room initially, right? If I set it up here and they do go for damage, I think I'm in a very, very commanding position. So I do think I need to set up Trick Room to win this game, so I'm going to go for it this turn. Okay, Moltres goes for Fiery Wrath again. Mainly worried about flinching here. We don't take too much. Nice, and a Heat Wave, perfect. Nice, Electabuzz hangs on. And we don't Trick Room. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, great. So now what do I want to do? I don't want to Volt Switch here. I have Taunt, Follow Me. We have Faint. Don't think +1 Glacial Land should knock out Moltres here. I think it's probably safe to go for Follow Me, but I really want to go for Faint here. Because I don't think they're going to foul play anyway. I could see them protecting instead. I'm going to go for Faint Glacial Lance. Okay, Moltres ends up not protecting, but that's fine. The only scary thing here is if they end up going for a foul play instead of Fiery Wrath. But like I said, I think you should expect Follow Me here. Oh, I do give them the Berserk boost here, though. So does that knock us out now? Let's see. It might. Yeah. I think it was probably safer to go Follow Me Close Combat into Moltres. I didn't take it into account Berserk boosting them, which is my bad. I think that puts me in a really awkward spot because now I have late game Scarf Annihilate under Trick Room. My opponent played really well, though. I think like a lot of players would just try to Trick Room on turn 1 to try to get fancy and reverse my Trick Room. Good Dark Terror on the Moltres as well. And great decision to keep clicking Fiery Wrath. Damn, Banded Rillaboom just comes out, which puts me in a really tough spot. Because you can just go for Choice Band Grassy Glide onto me. I think the win con here is survive the Grassy Glide, Close Combat, Hyper Voice, knocks out Rillaboom, and then I Earth Power Zama. Okay, nice, we survive. Yep, there's Hyper Voice. I think if Zamazenta were their last one, I would have lost if they just brought it out first over Rillaboom, honestly. We knock out Rilla, cool. Okay, so Terra's already been committed. I can obviously just Earth Power the Zamazenta. But Trick Room is slowly expiring, obviously. Yep, it is almost their last one. Get your defense boost. There's still 2 turns, though, so, I mean, I'll be able to get Close Combat and Earth Power off here. They need a double protect, I think. Or maybe they're just bulky enough. Well, even if you survive Earth Power, though, okay, Zom obviously goes for the protect here, so I get a little bit more HP. Because you can't go for Body Press onto Annihilate, so you need to Heavy Slam that slot. Like, their win con is hope to survive Earth Power and then Heavy Slam KOs Annihilate. I'm not sure it does, honestly, so I think we might be good here. I'm just going to Close Combat Earth Power again. Let's see if they get the double protect. They don't go for it even. Wow. Okay, and Earth Power just KOs. Beautiful. Yeah, I think you needed to go for the double there. I also think if they just brought Zama out first over the Rillaboom, they would have won, because you could have just protected with your Pokemon to stall out an extra turn of Trick Room. And because I'm Scarf Annihilate, the Annihilate would have just fainted. I think my opponent probably was a little bit scared about Blood Moon, just in general, being able to KO Zamazenta, but Choice Band Rillaboom, like them going for Grassy Glide onto the Blood Moon is exactly what we wanted to see, right? I think if they had also just glided Annihilate and gotten the knockout onto that slot, I also lose the game because I needed the close combat to finish off Rillaboom. So I don't love how I played this game. I think my opponent managed the early game super, super well, and I think the main mistake was not really accounting in for the Berserk attack, special attack boost. I was honestly thinking my opponent would go for Protect in that position, and so Feint Glacial Lance would have put me into a phenomenal spot had they gone for Protect, but I think my opponent made a lot of good plays in the early game. Like, they didn't go for the taunt with the Moltres, right? If they had just gone for taunt turn 1 and I get that knockout with Glacial Lance, it's super, super good. They went for the, just attacking with Chandelure. They went for the Dark Taro with the Galarian Moltres. They didn't Protect with Galarian Moltres, and with the turn I went for Feint. So I think my opponent made a lot of really, really good plays, but because they ended up bringing Rillaboom over Zamazenta and then didn't try the double Protect here, we were still able to win. So I think I could have cleaned up my play a little bit in this one. I wonder if it was worth considering just like Shadow Balling or Shadow Clawing into Chandelure on turn 1. But in the end, yeah, I think the main turn that I'm looking at is that I didn't get enough value out of the Calyrex as I would have liked. My opponent being able to just knock it out was pretty bad, and I think them going for both the Fire Wrath into Heat Wave combos meant Electabuzz was a little bit less useful. That being said, now that I think about it, like, they had Choice Band Rillaboom in the back, right? So that would have always been a pretty effective way to finish off the Calyrex Ice Rider. Abandoned Rillaboom is actually really scary now that I think about it. But yeah. All right, we have a Grimmsnarl here with Tornadus, Flutter, Chi-Yu, Koraidon, as well as Urshifu. So what do I want to lead with here? I'm thinking Smeargle Calyrex. I don't love Annihilate here since they're so speedy. So Smeargle, Calyrex, Blood Moon. I don't think I'm down for Electabuzz because of Feint. Electabuzz Calyrex could also be led here. I don't like that as much. I think with Smeargle Calyrex, we pressure Fake Out into Trick Room, Sport Protect. A lot of different combos. Grimmsnarl is the main thing that I think stands out on my opponent's team here. It is just a Pokemon that can offer, obviously, screen support. It's interesting because, like, you don't normally see Grimmsnarl on comps like my opponents, right? Like, Flutter, Chi-Yu, Tornadus, Urshifu, they're all, like, really, really fast-paced and offensive. Grimm often likes kind of, like, being paired with the slower, bulkier things. It is just going to be Flutter, Chi-Yu. So I think my main question here on turn 1 is... I actually have a bunch of questions. Do you Ghost Terra Chi-Yu? Do you have Taunt on Flutter main? I think the safest play is follow me, Fire Terra, Trick Room. This covers for everything, right? Covers for Taunt on Flutter, covers for Ghost Terra on Chi-Yu, covers for Heat Wave, Dazzling Gleam. Yeah, I like this. I don't see what could stop the Trick Room on turn 1. Unless Flutter main has its own Trick Room. And we see a Terra from their end. Great. Show me Ghost Terra Chi-Yu. Nice. Oh, it's actually Fire Terra. Okay. That's fine. I mean, Heat Wave Dazzle is obviously going to hurt if that's what they're going for, but that's still okay. Ideally, Smeargle feints here. I want them to Heat Wave Dazzle. And if Smeargle feints, then we just get Blood Moon in for free, and I can just spam Glacial Lance and Hyper Voice with no downside. Okay. Yep. They go for Heat Wave. We actually get a dodge there. Chi also moves before the Flutter main, so shows that it's Choice Scarf here. Ah, that's an unfortunate dodge. I actually really would have liked to feint there. I guess this is still fine, though, because I know you're... Scarf on the Chi-Yu, so I can just Spore that slot. But yeah, in this position, we would have preferred Smeargle feinting to just get a free switch into Blood Moon and just start pressuring more damage here. That being said, there's nothing stopping Spore right now into Chi-Yu and Glacial Lance. So with these teams, Chi-Yu can run a lot of different items, but Scarf is really powerful because you can just pair it with Flutter and then you just kind of outpace everything, right? But the Fire Terror here is obviously really good for us, and Calyrex really loves going up against a speedy duo like this. So they're actually not going to Protect with the Flutter. Not going to make any switches either, but that's fine. We get Glacial Lance off here. I would expect Flutter to be bulky enough to survive, but it is not. Nice. So we just get a knockout. Because I've seen things like near max HP, max defense Flutter on comps like this. Or really just on Flutters in general. And with them being Scarf Chi-Yu, it puts them in such a tough spot. Because I can just take advantage of the fact that you're Scarfed. You already committed your Terra as well, so I can just Spore the incoming Pokemon. I think that's Grim. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy to just Spore Grim here. Glacial Lance. This team just has so much incredible support. So they go for Fake Out, but that's fine. Like, even if Chi-Yu wakes up here, now you have 2 Pokemon that can't protect against me. I can just spam Hyper Voice plus Glacial Lance, right? They flinch. And Chi-Yu stays asleep. Cool. So now we can just decorate Glacial Lance, get a double knockout. They really have no way around that. Yeah, 2 turns of Trick Room. So Smeargle is just nasty right now. And they end up forfeiting. Yeah, this is what this team can do. My opponent already didn't have too much for Trick Room, and so once we got going, it was just so hard to stop here. Part of the advantage for us in this matchup is that we figured out the Chi-Yu item immediately, and then like neither Grimmsnarl nor Chi-Yu are Pokemon that, if you're obviously Scarf Chi-Yu, are going to carry Protect, and so the fact that you can't Protect means that it's really, really difficult to stall out Trick Room. The fact that Flutter Mane didn't Protect, nor was it bulky enough to survive Glacial Lance, put my opponent into a really difficult position as well, and so we were really able to just get the ball rolling with this combo. Alright, we have Miraidon here, but there's a King Gambit, which I haven't seen in a while. Whimsicott, Miraidon, Urshifu, King Gambit, Blood Moon, Farigiraf. Interesting. I think Electabuzz is really important here to deal with Miraidon. Being able to redirect a really powerful attack is nice. I might even lead it, to be honest. We do have Ground Terra Farigiraf here, which is valuable into Miraidon as well. So I'm actually thinking about something like Electabuzz plus Farigiraf lead with Calyrex and Blood Moon in the back. I'm a little bit wary to bring Smeargle here because they have 2 things that counter it. The first is Electric Terrain from Miraidon, and the second is Farigiraf blocking Fake Out. I think Annihilape could work, but I'm worried about leading Annihilape into something like Whimsicott Miraidon. Like, I could totally see them going Whimsicott Miraidon with Farigiraf plus Blood Moon in the back. Which would be super Calyrex weak. Farigiraf plus the... Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, the first question I have here is, do I just Ground Terra the Farigiraf? I think there's a solid chance here they go for Ground Terra Helping Hand Discharge here. Huh. We have a lot of options. One option is to taunt Farigiraf here, which would block something like Imprison. I could just follow me as well, but they could Discharge. I'm worried about them going for Ground Terra Discharge. So I'm down to taunt. Ground Terra. Terra Blast turn 1. What this allows me to do is set up for Volt Switch Trick Room turn 2. So I'm first taunting to block their taunt, or sorry, their Trick Room in subsequent turns as well as Helping Hand, and then I could have just Trick Roomed here though, like that, but I don't know. Oh, they just end up going for Draco. Okay, I don't mind that trade. I think trading Electabuzz here to get a lot of damage off. They might even be clicking Trick Room with Farigiraf to try to reverse my Trick Room, and that would be amazing. Look how much damage Terra Blast does there. Okay, they offer Foul Play. That's fine. Yeah, I can bring out Calyrex now. Draco still does a ton of damage here, though, so we have to be careful about that. I lean towards Protect here. And Trick Room with Farigiraf. I like the Draco play a lot from my opponent's end. It was relatively safe until the not Smeargle, the Electabuzz slot. Okay, they go for Helping Hand, so the question is, who are they targeting right now? Did they get the right slot? Okay, nice. They target Calyrex, perfect. So I get Trick Room up now. Them having Foul Play is obviously spooky. We can Glacial Lance right now. If I were them, I would consider trying to reverse Trick Room with Farigiraf. I mean, I could Helping Hand Glacial Lance. I could also, if I call this correctly and I predict that they reverse Trick Room, this is a game-winning play, I think. Because then I just get a boost and I just Helping Hand Glacial Lance everything. So what I want to do is Trick Room to reverse their Trick Room. This is risky, but I'm going to go for it. Miraidon switches, that's fine. Maybe into Ursh. What is that? King Gambit? Okay. And they just Foul Play. I actually don't hate this too much, because we're slower than them. So reversing Trick Room actually benefits us. This is just tough because of the speed stats. Like, we're sandwiched in kind of a weird spot right now. If I were them, I'd probably protect King Gambit right now. I have Close Combat, which would just obliterate this. We also basically, we want to get Blood Moon out at the perfect time. I don't mind switching in Ursaluna right now, I think. Terra Blasting into Gambit. Yeah, the speed stats in this one are wonky because they have the King Gambit and the Farigiraf, which are actually faster than us under Trick Room. They're going to send the Terra here, okay. On Gambit, probably, into Fairy, if I had to guess. Ice Terra Gambit. Whoa. Well, that gives them Terra Blast. Is that what we're going to see right now? That's really cool. I have not seen Ice Terra Gambit, but the Gambit actually is really tough for us in this matchup. Okay, but they didn't go for Trick Room, which is huge. Oh my gosh, yeah. They have Ice Terra, Terra Blast, King Gambit. That's crazy. Does that KO us? It doesn't. Nice. Okay, that's huge. Because what that means is I can go for Hyper Voice, Helping Hand now. I'm just like, I think I really want to set up Trick Room again because I want to mess up the Miraidon in the back. Tough spot. But yeah, I think I actually want a Blood Moon here and Trick Room. Oh, Gambit switches. That's a really good switch. Because Helping Hand Hyper Voice was the main play I wanted to go for here. Yeah. We do get that knockout, but if they're... I mean, unless they click Trick Room here, which would be nuts. Let's see. They just went for Psychic. So this isn't good, because now they get King Gambit back in. Basically, what I was thinking here is if I knock out that King Gambit as I set up Trick Room, Blood Moon sweeps. But my opponent made a very smart play of switching out the Gambit there. They didn't get baited. Helping Hand Hyper Voice there would have worked out quite nicely. So I think like in matchups where the speed stats are kind of... I mean, we also ran into Ice Terra Gambit, which I definitely would have not predicted, and that gives them a significant leg up here. Now you can just Psychic and Terra Blast, right? So I think I'm in a pretty bad spot. Because the problem is they just outspeed everything under Trick Room. I do see an out here. It's so funny because I've clicked Trick Room 3 times already in this game, so it looks kind of silly. I don't regret going for a lot of the Trick Rooms, because I think, for example, once again, if I knocked out the Gambit as it stayed in here, that's a potentially game-winning play. Although I guess their Blood Moon is probably slower than us anyway. It's just tough because it's like they have 3 Pokemon that outspeed us under Trick Room and then a Miraidon that outpaces us when Trick Room's not set up. But yeah, the only way I can see us winning now is for some reason they double up into Ursaluna, I reverse Trick Room, and then Helping Hand Hyper Voice double KO. It also might be Assault Vest Gambit, given that they switched like that. Yeah, so there's Terra Blast. But it should be Psychic now. Yeah. I was also thinking there's a chance that Farigiraf is only running Foul Play offensively, in which, if that is the case, then they can't knock out my Farigiraf. And this is before we saw Psychic last turn. But this was a really tricky matchup, I think, because Miraidon exerts so much offense and outpaces our entire team. But then they also have all, like, the rest of their team actually outpaces us under Trick Room. I'm trying to think how else I could have approached this matchup. It was also tricky because they had Whimsicott on Team Preview, right? So with Whimsicott, it meant that I couldn't just safely lead my Annihilate. Given the Farigiraf plus Miraidon lead, like, for example, Annihilate plus Calyrex or Annihilate Farigiraf would have worked out pretty well in this one. But yeah, I guess even if I had gone for Helping Hand Glacial Lance that turn, or sorry, Helping Hand Hyper Voice, I don't know if we even knock out Farigiraf, but even if we do, and we do a ton to Blood Moon, then they bring out their Miraidon, which pressures Draco Meteor. So I think the fact that we don't really have a safe answer into Draco here is what makes things really tricky, because there's no Fairy Terra or Fairy type on this team. So normally the response to the Miraidon would actually be Annihilate or Smeargle, but I didn't bring either of those into this matchup. And I don't think that's a terrible decision in a best-of-1 match, because it's like, if I bring Farigiraf with Ground Terra, have Ursaluna and Blood Moon, like, those are 3 really good Miraidon answers. But my opponent just did a really good job recognizing, hey, there's no point in going for Electric-type damage when Draco is super, super safe, especially into Electabuzz. So I really like my opponent's decision to lock into that immediately. And that exposes one of the weaknesses here, right? Which is that we don't have Protect on the Farigiraf, Electabuzz, Annihilate, or Smeargle on this team. And so launching Draco into Farigiraf, Electabuzz is really safe. And you should just target Electabuzz, since Farigiraf can, of course, be Fairy Terra. So I think my opponent played that game really well. And I think what was tricky, you know, I kept clicking Trick Room, right? I was like trying to reverse Trick Room because at first I was trying to set it up, then I was trying to reverse it. Now my opponent made it really difficult for me because they have this one thing that just threatens everything with Draco Meteor, but then they have this Ice Terra King Gambit in the back as well, which I think was incredibly difficult to deal with. Especially because with Ice Terra, you can deal with Calyrex a little bit more effectively, and of course you no longer take super effective damage from Ursaluna. So yeah, that is not a set that I've seen really at all, and I think it's really cool. Ice Terra Blast is kind of nasty. Alright, we've got an opposing Calyrex team here with Iron Hands, Blood Moon, Calyrex, Farigiraf, Goldengo, and Grimmsnarl. So I think in this one, we actually don't want to set up Trick Room, and we want to utilize our fast speeds to our advantage. I think Annihilate plus Calyrex is really interesting because I can just go for Coaching, which is pretty sweet. We need to bring Calyrex and Blood Moon into this one for sure. I really like Coaching in this game, I think. Getting those boosts are nice. We can Terra defensively against Goldengo. Goldengo might be a little bit spooky here. And then I think Electabuzz for redirection is not bad. Specifically against Iron Hands. This gives me Psychic Noise. Smeargle does give me Decorate, which is kind of cool. And Spore. I actually think Smeargle is probably a little bit better here. Electabuzz does give me Taunt and Feint. I think Feint is valuable, though, because what it allows me to do with Electabuzz is combo Feint into Glacial Lance or Feint Close Combat onto their Ursaluna. So, yeah. I think Smeargle is probably the safer pick in this one, though. But when else am I going to use Electabuzz, right? So let's see. I think this game will also probably highlight the speed stats. Cool. Farigiraf plus Calyrex. I'd say the main thing I'm worried about here... I could also just Final Gambit immediately, right? I could Final Gambit into Calyrex, for example. I'm leaning more towards Coaching Glacial Lance, because I think if I were my opponent, I would protect Calyrex and Trick Room with Farigiraf. Okay, they're going to Terra here. Terra their Calyrex. Okay. Into Electric. Huh. I don't know if I really understand that one. Okay. Well, I get coaching. They don't Trick Room, they just Dazzling Gleam, confirming they're faster. I Glacial Lance, okay. Oh my gosh, that's so much damage. And they Trick Room with Electabuzz, or it's not Electabuzz, Calyrex. Okay. I don't mind that too much. We have the boost here, and I know I'm faster than you. Now under Trick Room. So why not just coaching again? And Glacial Lance. Seems pretty foolproof, no? The fact that their Furgraph is faster than Calyrex here is a big deal. So Calyrex switches, okay. I'm also really confused by Electric Terra. Oh, I guess they were just worried about like a ghost type attack from Annihilate. But yeah, like they set up Trick Room for me, so yippee! Now we knock out Furgraph. We're at +2 attack. And I get coaching, so I'm at +3 attack, +2 defense with the Calyrex right now. Which is pretty sick. And then with them being Electric Terra as well, I mean, Glacial Lance just knocks out everything, so... Okay, Blood Moon's their last one. This turn I want to be a little bit careful. We want to respect the possibility of this going for a Blood Moon, but I think all we do is basically get a safe switch it into Electabuzz and we should be good. I'm down to coaching here and protect this turn. We'd also end the game with my own Blood Moon at this point, going for normal Terra Hyper Voice, right? So they go for Reflect, but I wanted to respect Fake Out from the Grim. And yeah, this is the main thing we want to do. Just avoid getting hit by Blood Moon right now from their Blood Moon. And this is one of the cool things about coaching. It actually goes through Protect as well. Cool. Another boost. We should definitely survive Hyper Voice. We actually probably should switch out Annihilate right now. So I'm down to go into Electabuzz this turn and Glacial Lance. So Annihilate switches out. It's done more than I've needed it to. The main thing I was worried about in this game was foul play from Furgraph on turn 1 of the battle, just dealing a fair amount of damage. Cool. They just Hyper Voice now. Perfect. And we Glacial Lance for another double knockout. Beautiful. Do we get to +6 attack in this game? Because we knocked out both of these. We coaching, what, 3 times? And then I got that knockout initially as well. Pretty nasty stuff. Calyrex is their last one. Cool. I haven't seen Electric Terra Calyrex, but that is a viable answer into Miraidon, obviously. So, yeah, we got to +6. That's crazy. Anyway, I'm down to just Taunt Protect here, and then Feint Close Combat or Glacial Lance next turn. Could have been interesting leading Electabuzz in this game, I suppose, but it's Electric Terra Terra Blast. Oh, wow. Wonder what you drop for that. But now I can just Feint Glacial Lance next turn. I don't even need to Feint, actually, since you're already taunted, but might as well do it for some free damage. No, that's rude. I'll just Volt Switch. Although Electabuzz is faster here, so it does move first anyway. How much does that do? Not bad. And we can just pivot back out into Annihilate. But yeah, I think coaching here is really cool because it essentially just gives us a pretty big lead. And so when you go up against opposing Calyrex Ice Rider teams, you often want to consider not clicking Trick Room because they're going to need to click Trick Room and then basically taking advantage of the fact that you should outspeed a lot of these opposing Calyrexes and then snowballing from there. So in this game, we're able to feature Annihilate really well, which I'm happy about. You can see how all of the different tools on this team come together, right? The Smeargle, the Annihilate, the Electabuzz, they're all really valuable in enabling the rest of the team. Okay, we've got Miraidon here, but with Urshifu, Furgraph, Iron Crown, Sinistcha, Pelipper. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, let's see if I can get my revenge on the Miraidon. I really want to bring Electabuzz in this one for sure. I'm a little bit worried about Scarf Urshifu with Pelipper being led, but would you really bring that into this matchup? I also have Grass Terra on Annihilate. Because I could go Annihilate plus one of the Trick Room users. I'm thinking Annihilate, Calyrex, Buzz, plus Blood Moon. I think what I learned from the last game is that Draco Meteor is so good for Miraidon, so I really have to respect that. And if I go with Electabuzz plus Farigiraf like I did last time I fought against Miraidon, it's just a turn 1 Draco Meteor immediately. With this, Annihilate pressures Final Gambit, and my opponent doesn't have Whimsicott on this team unlike the last Miraidon team that I fought against, meaning that they can't just go for something like Tailwind and a lot of damage. Iron Crown and Sinistra, both really cool to see here, though. Not very common options in the format. I would love it if they led something like Pelipper Miraidon and I just like Final Gambit Trick Room on turn 1, bring in Electabuzz, and start clicking Feint into Glacial Lance onto everything. That would be my dream. We gotta be a little bit careful here, remembering that this is Fire Terra Calyrex, and so I don't want to go for Terra, because otherwise Weather Ball is gonna just destroy us. Iron Crown plus Urshifu. Huh. Is it booster Iron Crown speed? Okay, it's not. That's good at least. What I want to do here is Final Gambit into this. And Trick Room. Okay. I'm worried about Max Speed Scarf Ursh. Okay, nice. That's good. Oh my gosh. Sash Iron Crown. Oh. But they go for Expanding Force and not Tacky and Cutter, which might bail us out, because they're going to Surging Strikes here. Oh, what? Oh, okay, so they went Expanding Force onto Annihilate, I see. Well, we get lucky with this, because if they just went Tacky and Cutter, Surging Strikes, or Close Combat, I'd probably just lose there on turn 1, but yeah, Annihilate kept them guessing. I am down to bring out Electabuzz right now. The question with Electabuzz right now is, do I want to predict them to go for Protects? Because we can use Feint. Like, I can use Feint to finish this off. Glacial Lance. I could also Feint into Ursh. But I think getting a KO right now is not bad and accelerating this game. Wow, they don't protect with Ursh. Nice play. Because that means I could have just gone Volt Switch Glacial Lance this turn, but I really thought you would want to consider protecting in this spot. It's still fine, though. Because I think Blood Moon plus the Electabuzz are really, really strong for us. And we still do so much damage there. But that was a nice call by my opponent's end. Volt Switch Glacial Lance would have just given us a double knockout, and it would have gotten Calyrex to +2 as well. So, really bold decision to not go for the Protects there, but I'm fine trying to make that prediction, since I think late game Ursaluna plus the Electabuzz is really good right now. They bring out Sinistra. Okay, perfect. What? It didn't heal. Interesting. Okay, well, I'm down to Taunt into Sinistra now. Terra. Hyper Voice. I could also just Volt Switch Blood Moon, right? But I think we Hyper Voice to cover for Close Combat. And even if they were Mental Orb and Reverse Trick Room, I still have Follow Me Earth Powered the next turn. So I think this is still okay. But I think Electabuzz being able to pressure with redirection and taunt is a big deal right now. Cool. And I figure at this point you really don't want to go for Protect. Oh, that does so much damage. There's a crit on the Urshifu. That one obviously doesn't end up mattering. Calm Mind. Okay. That's fine. I taunt you, so now you can't protect, and I can just feint the Miraidon, which should be their last one, right? I actually don't know if going for feint is correct. Wait, they didn't bring Miraidon. What? This is not how I expected the game to play out at all, but okay. Sinistra's their last one. I just taunt you now, and I Hyper Voice. I have no idea what was going on in this game. Focus Sash, Iron Crown, Urshifu never protected. What other abilities does Sinistcha even get? They just Hyper Voice, that's fine. Crits us, but that's okay. Your Throat Spray, yeah. Electabuzz Volt Switch should be a 2-hit KO at this point, I think. Taunt here just to... Well, I was going to say prevent them from reversing Trick Room, but I guess here they actually don't mind Trick Room being reversed. Anyway, last turn of Trick Room. I'm happy to just Volt Switch here and protect. Yeah. I have not seen Calm Mind Sinistcha in a while. I'm just curious. Oh, is he heat proof? I'm looking it up right now. It is heat proof, yeah. That is so interesting. Okay. The healing wouldn't have benefited them anyway, because Urshifu would have just fainted to Hyper Voice, but yeah, I think I was shocked to not see Protect on either side, but maybe it's because my opponent actually wanted me to get a knockout so they could get the Sinistcha in a little bit sooner. But the reality is that we just had way more damage. However, this game could have just been a complete disaster on turn 1 if they had just gone for Tacky and Cutter plus Surging Strikes or Close Combat onto Ursh. Basically, they just went for Tacky and Cutter instead of Expanding Force, right? They went for Expanding Force because they wanted to pressure the Annihilate. And so fortunately, they, maybe didn't anticipate Scarf Annihilate specifically. Because if you do anticipate Scarf Annihilate, I think it's always fine to just Tacky and Cutter into Calyrex, because if I Final Gambit to Urshifu, I trade Urshifu for you, but then you Tacky and Cutter KO me. And then if I target the Iron Crown, which I did, you have Focus Sash. So this is the downside of using Final Gambit. It can have pretty heavy downsides if your opponent is sashed, but fortunately, they didn't capitalize with the double onto Calyrex or enough damage to get the knockout, but that could have been spooky. Okay. What is going on here? I'm so scared. Hitmon, Chan, Carbink, Florges, Serena. I don't know what to expect. I'm so scared. Okay. I generally don't know what to expect here at all. When in doubt, I feel like leading Final Gambit here is not bad. Annihilate, Calyrex, Electabuzz, Blood Moon. I think Electabuzz here is actually really awesome, because what it allows me to do is feint into the Terrapico, so then I can feint Close Combat. Feint breaks the shell, and then Close Combat is just super effective. But I don't know what to expect here. Okay. Uh-huh. Good coaching. Good Final Gambit. This is the pre-evolution too, so I'm really, really not sure what to expect right now. I don't know. I really, really don't know. I mean, I kind of want to just Final Gambit here. I think I'm I'm down for Final Gambit Protect. Okay, they just protect. Guess that's fine. I mean, what are we going to see from the opposing side? We know it's not specs now, which is also good information. It's just toxic. Okay. That's fine, I guess. I will go for Gambit here. Glacial Lance. Knowing you're not specs is a big deal. And then I can just start, after this, bring out Electabuzz, and then just use Electabuzz for redirection to either set up Trick Room or just go for Feint. Okay, so they're gonna commit the Terra here. For more help. Yeah, makes sense. Maybe it was worth going for close combat here then? I don't know. But I don't think my Calyrex is really threatened by too much damage here. Ooh, has Wide Guard. Okay. Well, that's where close combat would have been helpful. Yeah, I just don't know these things move pool at all. Wide Guard Toxic. Okay. Terra Starstorm, single target now. Still fine with this though. Yeah, that really does not do very much. I mean, I think they should just Wide Guard again right now. Bring out Electabuzz. I think it's actually fine to just bring out Ursaluna here, no? And just Earth Power close combat. Earth Power Trick Room also is probably okay. Okay, it switches. Into Hitmonchan. And they just protect. Okay, I mean, now I have Trick Room up, so... How do you stop the onslaught of damage that's going to come? Is that Assault Vested? That took that really well. Okay, so we Trick Room. I'm happy to just Blood Moon here. Close combat here. I'm so curious. I don't even know the item on this Terapagos. Now Terapagos switches, okay. I actually think Electabuzz is going to be really good for us in this endgame. Just to click Feint into everything. Cool, they fake out into Calyrex, perfect. We Blood Moon here. Oh my gosh, it's so tanky. It even survives that. Wow. Well, I know you're Assault Vested on this slot. 3 turns of Trick Room. With 3 turns of Trick Room, I just want to make sure I get Electabuzz in sooner than later. But right now, I think it's fine to just go for damage. Normal Terra, Hyper Voice, Glacial Lance here feels fine. Okay, Hitmonchan switches. Something's getting KO'd here. Terra. This has been such a weird game. There's the Terra. Yep, they protect. Okay, cool. I mean, they're losing a ton of resources right now, right? And I guess what this allows them to do, though, is cycle Hitmonchan back in for a Fake Out, which is cool. If I get this KO, which I should, yeah. Actually, do we not get the knockout here? They do resist us. Okay, no. I was like, that'd be nuts. So we get that KO. Chilling Neigh. I would guess you bring Hitmonchan back in for Fake Out. Yep. 2 turns of Trick Room. I would like to Hyper Voice here, and I actually do want to switch out into Electabuzz right now. The reason I want to switch into Electabuzz is so that I can Feint plus Hyper Voice next turn to knock out Florges and Hitmonchan and get a double KO. Yep, there's Fake Out into that slot. Okay, this actually just ends the game then. Because I can Feint Hyper Voice the Terapagos next turn, I think. Unless I get KO'd here. Cool, they just Moonblast, perfect. We survive, good. Special attack drop is kind of scary, but I don't think it matters. And it's leftovers to Florges. Cool. Yeah, so this is where Feint on Electabuzz is awesome. You can use it to close out games. Okay. Hyper Voice here. Feint here. Beautiful. And that, folks, is what Electabuzz can do. This first team was just absolutely crazy, though. Like, I didn't really know what to expect from any of these Pokemon. But here's Hyper Voice. Nice. And that allows us to secure a knockout as Trick Room expires. Feint is a really underutilized move in this year in VGC. We used to see it back on like Hitmontop. And yeah, being able to use it to close out battles like this is really nice. Okay, now we got a 3v1. I can just go for Follow Me into Blood Moon now. Trick Room expires. Let's Blood Moon here. And Follow Me. I mean, yeah. This is just one of the games where it's like you're going up against Pokemon that are all like under 0.1% usage rate probably. Like Wish. So even though my opponent is using generally weaker Pokemon, like not knowing what to expect from any of the sets is really scary, right? Like the turn that they actually went for Fake Out with the... Look how bulky this is! Like, this is nuts. Okay. Well, the good thing here is even with Wish, now I can just go for Feint plus Glacial Lance to knock you out. So it's not like you can just Protect and Wish. I actually wonder if the smarter play is to still just go for Follow Me. Wait, hold on. Because, like, I feel like their win con right now is a crit Moonblast onto Calyrex, right? You also know I have Feint. Yeah, I think we play this safer, actually. We go for Trick Room here and Follow Me. Because I could lose to Feinting into this, you survive, and then you crit, and then you heal all the way back up. So I'll play it safe. Trick Room, Follow Me. I don't want to lose to a crit Moonblast. And they have Pollen Puff, so yeah, that was a way to deal super effective damage. But now I can just go for... So you heal all the way back up. This thing is actually so bulky. I mean, it survived Hyper Voice into Blood Moon? That's nuts. I don't think it has Protect, though. Pollen Puff, Wish, Moonblast. I'm down for Glacial Lance now. And Follow Me. I don't know this thing's moveset, right? So I'd rather play it safer for now. I wonder if Pollen Puff would have done enough to knock out Calyrex. I really have no idea. Nice, okay, Glacial Lance just gets the KO. The reason I didn't go Follow Me Glacial Lance this last turn is because they could obviously Protect in that spot, so I'd rather just set up Trick Room and have the speed advantage. So Electabuzz was really nice in this endgame in order to break the Protect from the Terapagos, as well as having Follow Me pressure and then potentially taunting if I really needed to get to that point. But yeah, that was just a really wild team for my opponent, and it was scary. Like, I think often when you go up against these teams, a lot of people get lulled into a false sense of security, but like, I don't know my calcs against Hitmonchan. I don't really know my calcs against Florges at all. Both were so much bulkier than I expected. Hitmonchan survived the Hyper Voice into the Blood Moon, right? And I didn't Terra because I was a little bit worried about Terrapagos. I probably could have played this game better by just Terraing earlier, since I don't know if Terrapagos was actually really that scary once I had done so much damage to it. But I didn't know my calcs against anything in this game, because how often do you go up against any of those Pokemon? So you never want to underestimate these teams, because the lack of experience often can really hurt you, especially in a best of one battle. But Electabuzz was awesome in this one. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So thank you so much, as always, for joining me. This was a really fun episode. We got to play against a lot of different things, and I hope that I got to feature all of the cool things that this team has to offer between, of course, the Electabuzz, as well as the Smeargle, as well as the coaching Annihilate. And so, yeah, played against a lot of interesting and fun teams as well. So thanks so much, as always, for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy, and I'll catch you all soon. All right, peace.